Okay, we're recording on however you want to start.
Okay, may I have a motion to call this meeting to order? I'll make that motion. Thank you, Chrissy.
I'll second it.
Thank you, George. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's roll. Any adjustments to the agenda this evening? That's good, because we are barely gonna fit it in anyway. Let's see, we've got election of board officers first. I guess I can do this as a slate, right? Is that right, Paul? I think I've done it like this in
Yes,
the
you
past
can.
where it's like.
Yep, you can.
I nominate myself to continue as president. I nominate Tricia Best to continue as vice president, Daniel Bearhide to continue as treasurer, and I spoke with Markale Miller about serving as secretary. I know she can't make it tonight, but she did agree. May I have a motion to elect that slate of officers?
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, George.
I'll second.
I'll second it too.
Would you like to do that? Thank you, Tricia. Any discussion about the slate of officers? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thanks, everybody. On to, we've got a copy of the minutes from December 18th and 22nd. May I have a motion to approve these previous board minutes?
I'll move to approve them.
Thank you, Tricia. Any discussion? Okay, maybe I did this in the wrong order. I'll second that motion. A second, thank you, Chrissy. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any more discussions? Probably not. Any opposed? Okay, board minutes passed. On to Laura for the financial report.
So I will be reviewing the financials ending November 30th, 2023. You've all been provided with a balance sheet and statement of operations, as well as a board summary report. I'll be going over the board summary report. The numbers on that are taken directly from the financial statements. So if everyone has their documents, I'll start. The total cash is about $412,000. This does not include the CD, which is considered a non-current asset. And the amount of that is $102,046.26. Total accounts receivable is about $56,000. 95% of receivables are current within 60 days, 3% are 61 to 90 days, and the remaining 2% are over 90 days. Prepaid expenses are about $8,700. Those are all listed on the first sheet. And the items that are highlighted in green have been added since the last meeting. Total accounts payable is $48,150 and includes the Cornell bill. Deferred revenues are about $29,900, and those are listed on the second page. The green highlighted items should be fully expensed by year end, and the rest have been budgeted through the end of 2024. Moving on to the summary of the statement of operations. Did anybody have any questions on the balance sheet portion? So I'll move on to the statement of operations. We are 92% through the year, and the net from transfers and operations is $9,950, which is about $9,500 less than our projected year-end net. A big part of the reasoning for it being under is because we had budgeted more for the social services contract than what we actually had. So we're actually doing very well. The budgeted revenues are at 93% and budgeted expenses are at 94%. County contracts, other government contracts, and program registration fees are less than projected. New York State contracts federal contracts, interest income, enrollment fees, regional program support, and reimbursement for services and fundraising income are more than projected. Total program and operating revenues and expenses are high because of additional grants received. I highlighted a couple of expenses that are much higher on the statement of operations. Total salaries and benefits are slightly less than where they should be because of the 4-H educator leaving. And the average total of all other expenses is about 98%. Did anybody have any questions on the statement of operations? Okay. I'm all set, do that.
Okay, great.
So Ashley, I think you need a motion to accept.
As presented.
Yes,
We need a motion to accept as presented the financial statement review for November 2023.
I'll move.
Oh. Thank you, Tricia. Any discussion? All in favor, wait, second? Kind of.
Who was first?
Tricia was first.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll say George was second.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion moved. So now are we going into the approval for the transfer of funds to cover the new initial deposit?
Yes.
Great.
So I'll just read from the form code to explain what this is. A lot of you already know what it is because we've had it every year. So the payroll for Cornell Cooperative Extension Association employees is processed through the Cornell University payroll system. Paychecks are drawn on Cornell's bank account and are issued bi-weekly for non-exempt staff and twice monthly for exempt staff Cornell bills. The Extension Association for reimbursement of paychecks issued at the end of each month. As a result, payments from the Extension Associations to Cornell University are not received by Cornell until 2 to 6 weeks after the paychecks are issued. Therefore, the university has requested that each Extension Association fund the payroll expenses incurred but not yet paid by depositing a sum of money with Cornell. This sum of money is called the initial payment. They do an average of 12 month salaries to determine if the payment needs to go up or down. This year's payment is an increase of $2,520. And you've all been given the statement, which the statement has an amount of $26,040 as our new initial payment, but it's actually $26,039. That was an error. I'm still waiting for the corrected version. So we need a motion to transfer $2,520 from the general fund to the initial payment deposit.
Okay, I think you heard the motion that we need.
So we're increasing by the 2520 to deposit 26,039, right?
Yes, that would be the full amount.
And that includes the 4-H
That's the-
employee?
That's the average of 12 months.
Okay, all right.
So is it that Cornell wants their money sooner or something?
They pay us and then we reimburse them.
So it's gonna be the
So
same amount of
Cornell,
money.
you could think of it as Cornell provides your payroll and then you reimburse Cornell for that.
that's not a change from what we do now. That's the way it is now as well. It's just that we have to cover a little bit more in case it's higher.
And this adjustment is made once a year. Technically, usually it goes up. If we had a decrease in employees all year long, it would be probably less. But we've had more employees, even though we had employees leave. So our average salary is more than it was 12 months ago.
Okay, so we just need a motion to approve that transfer of funds, which is around $2,500 to the new,
No, 26,039
$26,039.
is what we're actually transferring, right?
No, the transfer is $2,520.
Up to 26,000.
That is our new initial payment deposit is 26,039. In order to get to that dollar amount, we need to deposit and we need to transfer an additional $2,520.
The
That's-
rest of it was already approved when the budget was approved.
We already have, the rest of it is already
Gotcha.
on deposit.
But
We're
that's
just
every
adding
month,
to it.
$2,000.
No, that's not every month.
Just,
We reimburse them every month for whatever the Cornell bill amount is. That's just an average of 12 months. So they have 1 month of salary paid. Then they pay us and we reimburse them. Any other questions?
So we just need a motion to approve this increase of
Transfer, the
2,500.
transfer of $2,520 from the general fund to the initial deposit account.
To the initial deposit. I already have all the wording here, so you don't have.
Thank you.
Fantastic, trying to be official and Lori stuff.
I got you back.
I just need that motion,
I'll-
please.
I'll make that
Thank you,
motion.
Chrissy.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trisha, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion moved. Okay, oh, so this is probably the AR and VR, the 2024 authorization and financial controls.
No,
Okay, Laura, please tell us.
that is our annual authorization and financial controls for like check signers and who can approve what. So we haven't made any changes to it this year. We just changed the formatting of it, but it does have to be approved every year. But the format of it is much easier to understand because we're not bouncing around from one category to the
You're
next.
used to seeing this as a list at the end of the agenda every January, and it did sort of bounce around from category to category. So Laura redid it, and it's longer, but it's way easier to understand.
Do we have
And
to
that-
actually read it, or can it just be approved as read or as submitted?
We just need it approved as submitted. I would
Yeah.
point out if we made any changes, actually, we did make a change in that the mileage rate is now 67 cents per mile instead of 64. Now I can't even remember what it was, 65 and a half.
Okay, great. So we approved this last year and the only change is the mileage, right?
Yes.
but there's no changes in who's gonna write the checks and stuff.
No,
No, okay. That's a little bit.
So we just need a motion to adopt the 2024 authorizations and financial controls.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, George. Second,
I'll second.
Trisha, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moved. Okay,
I am done.
thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Great,
You're welcome.
okay. Elizabeth. I mean, staff program report is provided and then now it's your report, right?
Yes, I think in the interest of time, we should go on because my updates are not consequential. And so I can fill this in at the end of the meeting after you've been able to take care of some of the other things that can't wait, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that sounds great. So now we're moving on to the pre-approvals needed for Acumenica purchase order system which were adopted at our executive committee meeting.
That is on the agenda because it sounded like at the meeting that there were some follow-up questions that the executive committee had. I can briefly explain that what our association is going to be one of the early adopters of using a purchase order system in Acumatica. We think it'll save a huge amount of time and it'll be a new process for us, but we are great at shifting and taking advantage of new modules and things like this. And Laura and Lori and I will be meeting with our SVN finance lead next week to try and learn all of it. And then she will be coming to Essex, to our association to do an actual training for the staff. And then Lori will follow up with individual questions and to work out the kinks in the system. It does it streamlines things a little bit that we do all in paper now.
I think our question at the executive meeting was, is there a dollar limit on purchase orders?
No, we'll learn more next week, but the way that other associations do it is that, they put a $200 limit on things that you could, just get by email without a signature.
So all of the information that's gonna be entered into the purchase order system was initially on a paper form, either a
Okay.
check request or a charge slip form. Anything over $200 required Elizabeth's pre-approval. But now that we're entering it into the system, there's no way to have that paper. We're trying to avoid all the paper, so to have that, fill the paper out and then do that, so we're just going to, if someone has a purchase that they expect to be over $200, they'll request approval from Elizabeth via email, and we will upload a copy of that to the purchase order,
Okay.
but that's all that is for. It's
Okay.
usually done on paper, but part of the reason for the purchase order is to avoid that extra paper.
And these pieces of paper are required throughout our financial system by, and the fact that we provide them as we do is what gives us a clean audit every single year, because we have documentation for every nickel that we spend, and this is just one other accountability measure, just to have an explicit approval by email for purchases over $200.
Great,
Well, I think that clarifies our question. Dana, you don't remember any other questions from that executive committee meeting, right?
No, that was more or less, I had questioned whether or not we had already done that, but then you clarified why we're doing this.
yes, and it's also that's one of the items that's in the financial controls, that we need to do that.
Makes sense.
Great. Any lingering questions from you, Tricia?
No, I'm good.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really good. So now we're moving on to the 2024 calendar, which we all have a copy of. Elizabeth, Lori, did anybody want to point anything out on here?
Uh,
Well, January 16th is already wrong, but.
Yes, but here we are, we're doing good.
So the only thing that I would add is that we will, as we get the results of the strategic planning surveys that we'll be sending out, we'll want to schedule a presentation of that information to the board, which would take place hopefully in late March and possibly in combination with the March 25th board meeting. But if we don't have everything, we haven't received everything and compiled it, we might need to schedule a time in April.
Okay.
The other suggestion that I would put on here is, I don't know, it's up to the executive committee, but it does really help to have some things on the calendar in case we need them for the executive committee to act on. If it's easier for me just to throw that out there as needed, I can continue to do that. Or if you prefer for your own schedules to have some dates that you block off, we can add them to this calendar.
Oh, I don't have a preference. It seems pretty easy for the four of us to make meetings happen,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, that sounds fine for me too. And the only other one that I would point out is just a heads up again that July and August are when the budget is being developed, and it makes me feel more that you are informed if we have time to go over some budget, if we have budget questions or concerns for that, we just be in contact. And I know that's a really busy time of year, but that's the only other thing I would point out. The rest of it looks great.
Great, so nice to have the calendar in advance. Thanks, y'all.
That is, I will not be able to make the March 25th. I have colonoscopy, yay.
Yeah.
Oh, so fun, so fun.
Yeah, right.
Do you all feel that the schedule that we have done, when I started, everybody seemed burnt out on monthly meetings. We went to this sort of every other month. It seemed like it worked okay last year. Does everybody feel like you have enough contact? We are obligated to meet 5 times a year at least.
Great.
I think it's really great.
Yeah, I think the monthly one was left over from the ED search.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and the lack of ED was, yeah, drawing us very close together. So this is great, in my opinion. Looks like everybody feels that way, so.
Yeah, every other month works well.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
So, and NCRAT? updates?
NCRAT, yes, is the topic that keeps on giving. I have spent some time with the other EDs, and I actually spoke directly with Andy Turner. There is still conversation about trying to figure out the best way for the North Country associations to support our agriculture programs and needs. And what I can say right now is that we set aside $9,300 in our 2024 budget to provide specialists to farmers who need them. And we will continue to do that. And I think that Andy is very interested in keeping the conversation going about how the associations work with Cornell. And I think that's really all I need to say right now, because there hasn't been any other steps taken. Paul, did you want to add anything about that?
I think you're right on. Collaboration and communication. That's what Andy and myself and all of us in Extension Administration, and just so that in case anybody gets asked, there's no question about anybody. Cornell Cooperative Extension, Cornell Cooperative Extension of Essex County. I'm putting words in your mouth, but I think you'll agree that all of those entities and folks support agriculture, period. And just what Elizabeth said, trying to keep in communication and figure out how to best do that, how to best support agriculture in every county in the state. In this specific instance, it's the 6 in Northern New York.
If anyone has any more questions or wants me to fill in details, there's been a lot of meetings and conversations, but there hasn't been any change. So that's just the report from at this point. And I think Essex County is still in good standing with our relationships, and that's the most important thing to me.
I just want to add, I was on a call the other night for the Dairy Climate Adaptation Fellowship that Carly circulated, and Kitty O'Neill announced that she was offered a job. What's her new position? Climate, Elizabeth, do you know? It's like climate.
She's a climate ag, yes, she's a climate ag specialist for Harvest New York. So she'll be in a statewide position. And I have reached out to her also, just to, again, keep the lines of communication open. She will continue to be working on some projects in the North Country, but to my knowledge, there aren't any in Essex County. I think we are still in a so we will still have expertise that we continue to use from the Eastern New York horticulture program. And we also have, we'll continue to have access to specialists that our farmers are currently using. So, yeah. And the other members of the ag team are shifting positions also.
Oh. Great. Well, Jackie's not here, but you could give an update on the strategic planning so far?
I'd be glad to. So if you look in your packets, I did put a 1-pager out there for you to kind of a refresher about why we're doing it. And what with the status of it right now is that I've been working with Carly and Jackie and Ashley have all given some input into what we're trying to, how we're asking for what we want to know from our stakeholders. And I feel good about our survey. The next step is to work with Lori to get the mechanics worked out. I think that we're going to send out surveys to board members, to staff, to program advisory committee members, to participants in our programs, and to community partners to kind of get a read of how people understand who we are and what we are and what we do and our relationship to our partners in the community. So all of you will get a survey, which you can fill in. Either they're designed to be online, but you can print them and fill them out. We haven't figured that piece out yet, but I think what we're really trying to do is just take a reading from the community about what are the priorities that need to be addressed, that Cornell's resources, that CCE's resources can address the best. And I don't think there's going to be a significant change in our main program areas. They'll continue to be agriculture and community vitality and positive youth development. So those are the big buckets that we put things in agriculture. We will probably continue to have, we'll have general agriculture, we'll have Adirondack harvest, and we'll probably move consumer horticulture over there into the ag program. And then on the community vitality side, we will continue to have 4-H will be our positive youth development program. And that's that side of our programming is where I would like the most input, because there are a lot of partners out there doing different kinds of work. And so we'll see, we can't be everything to everyone, but we can continue to be a good hub for the resources that we have at Cooperative Extension. And the other piece that we'll continue to be involved in will be just general food system issues, and that'll be on the agriculture side as well. So it'll be interesting to see what we get, and we're looking forward to getting that info back and crunching all the data that we get and opinions that come in, and then we'll do a presentation to you, and that will help for you to decide if there are new priorities for what programming we do, and then from there you would direct me to say, okay, we think this is an important program that we should be doing, and then I'll figure out how to find the resources and staff to do it.
I've gotten to
Do
be
any of
on
you
a
have any? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I've gotten to be on a couple of these calls with Ruth Ellen, and she's really great. She's on top of it. She's done this before. She is a great resource. And then Carly and Jackie have had lots of awesome input into these questions. So it's moving along fantastically.
I hope that you all are pleased with the results. I feel like Ruth Ellen is kind of a dynamo. It's hard for me to keep up with her. And she's excited about it. She's done a lot of research into what other organizations are doing, have done. She's read a lot of other organizations' strategic plans, and I've had a lot of conversations with her about the huge overarching outcomes that Extension is committed to addressing. And we can't do all of them, but when I connect the dots between what we do and who we partner with, we cover a lot. We cover a lot for Essex County. So we'll keep you informed.
Great. Anything else on strategic planning? Any questions or anything else?
The only thing is, I wish that I did have a date suggested from Ruth Ellen about when to go over this, do a presentation for the board, since there won't necessarily be, I don't have that date right now, but since there won't necessarily be a vote attached to that, we can do it by Zoom, and we can have it in person if we can get everybody. We'll just see. It'll be later in the year when the weather will hopefully not be terrible.
Great. All right. Keep your eyes peeled for that email invite. Great. So moving on to new business. We've got appointments for the committees, liaisons. So the executive committee, we did that officially. Nominating committee. So Jackie's focusing on the strategic planning. Daniel's doing being treasurer. So I do need 2 people to serve on the nominating committee, and what that entails is choosing an additional 3 community members not on the board to help us generate a list of names and reach out and more fully flesh out this board. There aren't many of us here tonight, so it's probably not the best question. advertise, this position, but I'll, please reach out if you feel moved, and the president can also nominate people, which is not exciting for me. I prefer to collaborate, but, yeah, well, I think we'll move on from that tonight, and, feel free to reach out, and I'll reach out to folks who weren't here tonight to see if anyone wants to step into that position. So Tricia, you previously served on the Community Vitality Board.
Yeah, I will continue to do that.
Great,
There's some really exciting people on that committee now.
sweet.
And there's, a real opportunity to collaborate with some 4-H programs in far off places in the county that we're not really centered on, you know. Yeah, so.
Okay, well, makes me happy, makes you happy.
I'm happy.
You're not happy, we're still happy.
Yeah, that's right. We just want you there. Okay, speaking of happy, George,
Yes, yes, yes.
as a natural resource, you're obviously happy about that.
I'm thrilled with that.
You get to
No,
hang out with
that's
Carly.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You get along so well with Carly.
That's true.
No,
Good friend.
and she was a good girl.
Adam, you've been at Adirondack Harvest. How do you feel about continuing that?
That'd be great.
Cool. Great. Well, this is fantastic. Thanks, everybody. I think we're ready for the ARBR, which I really wanted to get to earlier, but now's the moment, right? Yeah. Awesome.
Paul, do you want to talk about that or you want me to?
So I could do it really quick and definitely add anything I missed here, Elizabeth, but so the AR agreement is the administrative resolution. That's your agreement between the association and county government. BR agreement is business resolution, and that's the agreement between the association and Cornell. Neither one of those agreements have had any changes except for the year. We changed from 2023 to 2024. We've had a lot of transitions in extension administration, and there's been nobody that has noticed something in law or policy at a state or federal level that suggested either one of those two needed a change. So we put those out with no changes except for the year. Elizabeth, anything you want to add from, especially
No.
locally?
No, I think here's the bottom line. We can't operate without them, and I see no reason not to sign them.
So we just need a motion to approve the AR and BR.
Actually,
agreements.
it's a motion for you to sign them, actually, isn't it, Paul? To
Correct.
authorize you to sign them,
Yes.
because it
It's
has to
already
have the
financial
president's
controls,
signature.
though, isn't it? I don't know, we can approve it on this.
Wait, sorry, did I miss it?
I think it's already written into the financial controls, like right at the, like right at the
Right,
beginning.
it's number 1, it says board president is authorized to execute the AR memorandum of agreement between the county of Essex and the association. And then the BR memorandum, so it's already, you already approved it.
I think we have, I don't know why we have it separate, it might have just pulled it from an old agenda for January. Is it, Paul, have we already essentially done this in the financial controls?
I would, I can't speak to, it's possible that it is in yours. I would handle it as a separate motion in board meeting minutes in case it was ever challenged, because they're foundational agreements.
Good.
Okay, great.
Do it again.
Okay,
I'll
so
make that motion.
thank you, Chrissy. A second.
I'll second.
Thanks, George. All in favor?
Bye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have accepted the AR and the BRs.
And good, actually, you'll like that, you may recognize that you can do at least one of them online, the other one will have to get an original signature. I'll
Okay.
follow up.
We can do them all tonight. right?
No, we can't, we don't even have a contract from the county yet.
Oh, sweet. Okay, great. Well, you know, I'm good with all.
Waiting on the county.
Okay, cool. Right. That happened last year too.
Yeah.
So happen
Yeah,
every year.
and the BR will come from administration via, I think.
It's
through
in
Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's in my inbox, but I did waited till after this meeting, so I'll get it right out when I can.
Sounds good. All right, 2024 operating guidelines.
I can take that unless Elizabeth wants to handle it. There's nothing changed since last year. We just have to adopt them for this year. It's your meeting at the same times. That's something we usually adjust in here. But other than that, there have been no changes in the operating guidelines. You could certainly propose changes tonight, but it's there for you to approve or add to. It generally guides, it's referred to in the Constitution, and it guides some of our, how we operate, how the committees operate, that sort of thing. And also, there's a huge portion at the end on our lactation room, because in order to get the equipment that grant came from, we had to show we had a policy on this, and it really wasn't something we needed in the regular personnel policies, so we tacked it on here, and the grant was happy, and we got all the equipment, so that's why it lives there.
All right. So I need a motion to adopt the 2024 operating guidelines.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, George. Any discussion? A second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Operating guidelines accepted. 2024 policy manual?
Yeah, I didn't print out a copy of that for each one, because it's enormous, but I did send it out as a PDF. If you have any questions, there are no changes. So because when there are changes, I bring it to you immediately, and you review the policies and adopt them, or you vote on them then. So there have been nothing since midsummer or something last year when we did some new policy. Elizabeth may want to add to that. I don't know.
No, I have nothing to add. This is another one that fortunately in our association, we have very little controversy over our policies, and you have seen, and the only thing that I think came up this year was we went through clothing, dress code, and that was really it. So I strongly recommend adoption of the policy manual, and I appreciate you, Lori, for keeping that up to date.
Great. So we just need a motion to adopt that unchanged 2024 policy manual. I'll make that motion. Thanks, Chrissy. Second.
Also.
Thanks, George. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome, Matt. Hi.
Did we,
Hello, how are you guys today?
Good, how are
Great.
you?
Super.
Thanks for joining.
did we have any issues with the staff about the dress code thing, issues, policy things?
If you're talking about sort of pushback or something,
Well,
there wasn't, but
I-
there, it took just a little bit to get used to. I mean, it sort of broke it down into situations, office attire, or if you're out in public, or if you're at a formal event. So there was no blatant violations. It was more just questions. Is this appropriate to wear for this or that? It was all very, very civil and educational.
And educational.
let's just leave it there.
Yeah. So Lori has a lot of forms for us.
Yeah, you've all seen your lots of forms, so if you can, those who are here in person, if you can fill them out and get it back to me tonight, that would be great. Especially I think Ashley and Trisha and George, I need your background. I need to run background checks on you. Daniel already gave me his, so those are the key ones I'd like to get back. The rest of it I would take here. And Chrissy, thank you. She mailed them to me. Really excited to find those.
Well, I filled them out last week, and I'm like, if they sit on my desk, they're gonna get buried, so they're going in the mail, and I'll lose them.
I saw the envelope. I'm like, wait, we already got the contract executed. What could this be? Anyway, yeah, it'd be great to collect those tonight. Also, in the front part of your manuals, and sorry for those of you who aren't here, there's the 2024 organizational chart, which will change a little bit if we get new board members, but if you find your contact information is incorrect, please let me know. I'd love to update anything in our records. And what else here? I think that's it. And if I don't get all your forms tonight, I will be pestering you for the next couple of months to send them on over to me so we can have them on file.
Great. We love it.
Just be careful of that bad image. Don't look too close.
I'm not the one looking, George. Very professional organization is looking.
Was the sheriff do them for you?
What's that?
Was the sheriff?
No, it's through a company called First Advantage, and we just use them as our source for that, and you fill out the information. Remember, the second page is your social security information. I just use that to enter it, and then I shred that page, so I don't keep that on file. Yeah, and I get results in a few hours.
Okay.
Well, anything else?
I do have, this is where I could plug in some information that I think is general information. I'm thrilled that within 45 minutes, you guys did all of the decision making that had to get done. So if it's okay with you, Ashley, I'll go through a couple updates.
Yeah, great.
Unless anybody else has other questions or things about what you've already done. Good to go?
Good go.
Okay. Well, I thought it would be interesting for you to hear from Albany a little bit. So I have been watching the governor's budget, and I think that there have been some really important, the governor has in the State of the State address really emphasized a lot of agricultural initiatives as well as mental health initiatives, both of which I think will impact our work. 4-H is a way to combat some of the mental health problems that youth have had in our county. We'll continue to work on those, and obviously the agricultural initiatives, if they're followed through with budgeting, will definitely benefit our county. Today I met with 5 legislators with Paul. That was interesting. We are fortunate to be the North Country executive directors have an amazing relationship. I've really not seen something like that before, where all of the legislators knew us all and were happy to see us and knew our issues. They know our counties, and that's something really to be thankful for, because they really advocate well for us. So we spoke to the local reps were Matt Simpson, Dan Steck, Billy Jones, and then we also spoke to Carrie Warner and Mary Beth Walsh, and they all really were great. I thought it was really interesting that Julie Suarez, who is, I forget her title, Paul can probably tell, but she is what is her title?
Associate Dean for Land Grant Affairs for the College of Ag and Life Science.
So she started us off last night with a pretty sobering briefing, which I just wanted to share with you. It made a big impression on me. She said that even though that our legislators know our issues, that we should expect we shouldn't be surprised if today, while meeting with legislators, that we came up against 3 pretty significant points of view that I don't really live with on a day-to-day basis. One of which is people who question higher education, which would point them in the direction of questioning Cornell's value to our community. I don't live in that world. I feel like we are in Essex County, I don't see that dialogue taking place, but she pointed out that in other parts of the state, there really is quite a bit of hostility towards higher education. And so that was kind of eye-opening to me. She also said that there is a significant faction in Albany, believe it or not, that does not believe in science, that it still questions the validity of science and using scientific research to solve human problems and answer human questions. Again, that is not something that I see in day-to-day discourse with the supervisors or with our our community at all. I just don't see that issue raised at all, but it was significant enough to her, who does this every day, all day, 365 days a year, that is still, there are people who still vote about the issues that influence us, who just don't believe in science. And that pertains to all kinds of things, including climate issues, energy issues, opiate addiction. I mean, all kinds of things that, like, it's hard for me to believe that the science is questioned, but I didn't encounter that at all today. I just thought it was interesting that she says that's still an impact on us. And the other one that was really concerning and very directly does influence our county is that there is significant pushback in lots of sectors of state government about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that is shocking to me, that in 2024, we still have to talk about how to build inclusive communities and how important that is. And we've spent some effort explaining our 4-H programs and our senior programs and our support for minority and women farmers as an effort to make it a community the way that we want it to be and the way we think, and just emphasizing social justice in everything that we do. I don't think that we need to change course, but I thought that was really something pretty important that I want to communicate from my trip to Albany, that, wow, it just surprised me. I wasn't prepared for it. And when we live out far away from the center of decision making, it's important that we do know what the people here who are in the center of decision making are thinking about. Do you have some questions, Matt? I see you unmute.
So, I think from a college point of view that questioning higher education is one thing, but I don't see that it's so much higher education being questioned. It is, there was a push for so many years, no child left behind, college for everyone, that we forgot about some of the important aspects that CCE does, like workforce development, and what our CV Tech and apprenticeship programs. So I don't think, especially in our area, that there's a thing to say that colleges are bad. I think there's just a refocus on the trades that are, quite honestly, have been lost. Like, I know at Osable Valley, it's been a push ever since my kids were in school. They started in grade school with, they had a college as each grade school mascot. It was all about, what college are you going to? What college are you going to? There are certain kids that don't test well, who that is not their path in life, which I'm glad that they're actually finally realizing that CC, we've done welding programs because we need people who are highly skilled welders. We need people in the trades who are highly skilled in electrical, which does not need a college degree. So I think some colleges feel threatened by the fact that we're not valuing higher education. We are valuing higher education. It's just not for everyone.
I agree with you completely, that we are filling a need for students that aren't college directed, and fully support them. I think that the level of people who are questioning the need for higher education, the threat to us ultimately is, if they don't think that funding is a good investment in Cornell, that could really impact the resources that we have available to support our programs. I don't think that there's we aren't going to stop. We aren't reliant on funding for that money for our welding program or for our workforce development efforts at all. It's really, it could potentially threaten the research that's done at Cornell, at the College of Ag and Life Sciences, that could influence the kind of specialists that we have, or the kind of when we need to go to an expert and they don't have money to do research because the majority of people who fund them say that's not really worthwhile, then we're going to see a problem. And it's a long way removed from us in Essex County. But your point is well taken about providing.
Well, I think there's another thing that's there are 2 points in this that sort of make that together. I feel, from like a funding and a point of view, is there was a shift about 6 or 8 years ago. From if you question the truth, everything's a lie. And then you throw on top of that, people who don't understand. We need to start to understand the perspective that other people are looking at things from before we can understand and perceive how the world is being seen. So, science is constantly evolving and changing. It works on hypothesis, and it works on, we think we know the answer until something disproves that, correct? So I think a lot of people question science, not because they don't believe science, but it's because there's been something that has changed the hypothesis a little bit so that people think that, oh, now we can't believe in science. Well, science is always changing. Our perspective on history is always changing. So I think the more that people can understand and explain to people that who don't believe in science, is just look at the evolution theory, which is, it was blown right into my mind as a kid. We developed from apes. Now there's proof that that maybe didn't happen. But is science wrong for thinking that? So I know in the funding side of things, there's questions about that, but I think we sometimes jump to conclusions. And I mean, I really feel that the world, and I'm sorry to steal this whole conversation and blab, but I just find it really funny that people jump to conclusions so quickly because something has changed from what they thought they knew.
I love the way that you frame that, as, you know, as listening really well to find out what somebody else's perspective is before we go reacting really dramatically about it. And I think that for me, the bring home, the takeaway from Albany is we live in a place that people have diverse perspectives. And for us, diversity is about people who maybe go to college, maybe don't, people who maybe believe one thing or believe another thing. And it's really ups our game to listen really well to our communities. And that's why our program advisory committees are really important, why our partnerships and relationships are really important, because we generally, as human beings, associate with people who think like us. And we need it. For me, I consider it part of my job to associate with people who think like whatever they think like. And so it really, it helps me to have all of those inputs from all of you. And you're all really, really valuable inputs to the work that we do, to tell me what you think and to keep me in the loop with what's happening in your circle of knowledge and friends and influence, so that we stay on track with what's going on in Essex County.
And I would just add that the stuff that you bring back and the stuff that this group and CCE does, it is a part of, I feel, part of life that our youth need. And I think this mission and what CCE does and the trades and the opportunities, more kids need to take advantage of this, because we need to develop responsibility. We need to develop a working generation that is going to help take care of us when we're retired. And I think CCE is a huge important foundation in that. So I applaud all of you for what you do every day.
Thank you so much, Matt. I guess what we should do is, I have a couple other points here that I wanted to just give you an update on. So staffing to do all these things that we think are super important. We are still hiring a team leader. We have some great applications coming up. Thank you to those of you who are on the search committee. We may be able to hire a 4-H educator for that person to work with, shortly after they're hired. I don't know, Lori, is it realistic to say in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks? How long? What do you think?
Sure.
And then we also do expect that we will be hiring, because we did get the farmers market promotion, farmers market promotion program grant. We'll be hiring a year-round educator for the pop club, the Power of Produce. And that person will also be doing some ag in the classroom education for us. And we will also have a pop summer club, summer staff member who will, so there'll be 2 people at farmers markets. And Adam, to follow up on the email you sent me, I will follow up on that, and we would be interested in helping in Saranac Lake, but we'll have to talk about the details of that. But we will have a year-round person working on the Power Produce Club.
Wonderful. That's great, Elizabeth. Thank you.
I don't know how it will look, but we'll follow up on that.
Great.
The other thing, for some of you, or maybe all of you don't know, is that Carly will be out on maternity leave starting in May. And so we're figuring out what that will look like. And how we'll cover the summer season for our farmers who have questions or needs. And she is setting up some of the grant funded work that she has been doing in succession planning. She's going to continue to be working on that before her leave. So that's what I can say about our staffing right now. No, another very important thing. Again, I'm not sure if I communicated this, and if I didn't, I'm sorry, but some super exciting news for Megan Doman. She is going to be transitioning to be a full-time Harvest New York Farm to School Regional Coordinator. And what that means for us is that she is going to work for the association for 25% of her time until September. And then she will go full-time for Adirondack Harvest. She will continue to be doing all the farm to school work that she's doing in our area, but she'll be doing it as a regional coordinator, not as an association employee. So
For Harvest New York, not Adirondack Harvest.
Sorry?
Harvest New York, not Adirondack Harvest.
Whoops, I'm sorry, my bad.
Sorry,
Thank you.
just want to
Thank you.
clarify.
Yep, thank you. As a Harvest New York regional coordinator. Sorry. Oof, so many harvests. And it's really exciting for her. She's put a huge amount of effort in her career. She has a master's degree in food systems. She's really making a lot of progress in our area schools. I think she's working with 9 schools with Julie Holbrook in Essex and Clinton County. She's supporting programs in Hamilton County. She's supporting programs in Franklin County. So the great news is that it'll be more kids eating more local food and more wholesale buyers having access to farms that are selling wholesale. So that's good. But I will personally really miss her presence in our office once she is fully Harvest New York. But it's great for our area. Let's see. Okay. I do have another list of couple things here but I don't want to just talk at you. I've been working with Brass quite a bit. They're doing some great work to try and ensure safeguards again from flooding. And it's really great to see Boquet River Association kind of restoring their former strength. There was a sort of lapse in their board and leadership and resources and stuff, but they're coming back, and that's great news for farms that are along the river. Let's see, we have a couple small applications in the works, the Stewart's Holiday Match and the Adirondack Foundation Generous Acts. We're probably going to focus those on expanding our senior programs and some expanded 4-H programming. And I did have a conversation. So you all know, I think you all know this, but in the fall, we did not receive funding to do the large project on assessing risk perception about PFAS on farms. So we're not doing that project. But recently, so the governor has suggested that to reduce the amount of municipal sludge going into landfills, that sludge be spread on farm fields. That is being actively proposed as a means of disposing of biosolids from treatment plants. And the head of the Department of Public Works for Essex County, Jim Dugan, asked me about that. And I shared with him and with Sean Gilliland the frequently asked questions sheet that Elizabeth Hodgson and Kitty O'Neill and I wrote last year, and strongly discouraged him from making that a practice in Essex County. I know that there are important reasons to divert the amount of stuff that's going into landfills, but boy, I sure hope that we don't start spreading biosolids in Essex County. I just don't think that's a good direction for farm fields. And I think that's really all of the topics that I had to go over.
Well, Elizabeth, can Sam and you and I revisit that we have some funding that will run out September 30th of 2024? That we can look
Absolutely.
to expand, even if it is to expand what you're currently doing, get Sam certified in a new program that she finds interesting and appealing and feels that would be beneficial for our communities and our older adults, but we have that money sitting on the table and really you're my only designee for those funds, so.
I would love to do that. I do feel like, I think that I hope that when the survey comes out, Chrissy, that you weigh in strong for the senior needs around Essex County, because the demographics are obvious and there's so many opportunities for us to serve that community. So yeah, love to talk about that.
And there is additional, I just have to find, did you see the release last week, from the governor announcing the 7.6 million in funding available through round 2 of the New York Food for New York Families program?
Yes, I did. And so that is actually to buy food and give it to people, which is not traditionally our niche.
No,
So-
but can we have a conversation, because you have the niche of connecting me to the people that can do that?
Yes, that's what Megan brought that to my attention also. So yes, that is definitely on my list. And I would really I think it's a great opportunity to support are you thinking of the nutrition sites?
No.
No, okay, great. Whatever you're thinking of, let's talk about it. I do think that we do play, that's a really important role that we can play. Is to
Yeah,
try.
I think it could really be a combo of, trying to implement some of Megan's previous, conversations that we've had and initiatives that we tried to roll out, but, we're never able to for whatever reason. And then expanding it to, other older adults that may need some additional nutrition, resources. So, yeah, let's chat.
Yeah, that sounds great. And actually, I forgot to say one other update on a grant proposal, which is I'm kind of disappointed, but I'm trying to also be realistic. I did find a great opportunity for us to fund improvements to the 4-H barns on the fairgrounds, and I was really committed to doing it. But quite honestly, with the staffing changes that we have, I do not have a person who would a person with project management experience to have the time to carry that project out at the moment. I highly expect that the new team leader person will have the capacity to do that. And I just want to really demonstrate to the county how much we are in it with the county to try and make those fairgrounds be viable and useful and active in our community. But I just don't have the staff to pull off the proposal, the construction management, et cetera, with our current staffing situation. So I'm disappointed, but I did not apply. I did not submit an application. And it is a program that I believe is going to be offered again next year. That was what the implication was. So disappointed, but it's not over yet.
Elizabeth, is there something that we can do to get our ducks in a row so that next year it'll be a lot easier to apply for you?
Yes, and Jim Dugan was very helpful to me. He he gave me some really good things to think about, and yes, we will do that. Thank you, Matt, for actually asking. I just did not have time to get around to ask all the people I needed to ask to get the questions answered, and I don't like slapdash.
I'm gonna jump in here because I gotta go here in a few minutes, but I wanna address the issues that the woman brought up to, you folks at the seminar or forum, whatever, at there in Melbourne. Obviously, this woman has been watching national news in a big, big way. All the things that she brought to your attention.
I'm
have been
having a really
pretty-
hard time. George, I'm having a really hard time hearing you.
Talk to the owl.
Well, she obviously has been listening to what's going on in this country here lately. I know it worries you and it worries me as just an average citizen. I got 3 young men going to college right now, and, that's why my wallets get thinner and thinner, but, I've talked to them about their experiences. One is graduating this May, the other 2 are in their second year. Because I talk to people my age and stuff, and one concern they have about higher education is, of course, the price, but also, and I couldn't agree with Matt more about we need to concentrate more on technologies and the trades and stuff. There's a real need for it down the road here, and I couldn't agree with him more there. But as far as the going to further education, some issues that have come up is the influence that when we send our kids to college, we send them to further their education. And what you're hearing more and more and more all the time is that a lot of these institutes are not only trying to educate our youth, but they're trying to control or affect their way of thinking and their way of looking at politics and policies and so on and so forth. And like I say, I got 3 young men that are in college, and when they were home here on break and stuff, I talked to the 3 of them at Christmas time about it, and all 3 of them said they know exactly what I was talking about. Some people, some professors that they had really made it a point to try to influence their thinking for the future. Not just their education end of things. And that's a real concern for a lot of people. And one thing that I related to them was, and I hate to say this about Cornell, but it's the truth, that way back when I went to Cobblesdale University, they tried, even back then, even though it was in the field of agriculture, they made it a point to try to convince all of us young men and women there how we should approach our futures in agriculture. And I had an opinion when I went there, and almost every professor, didn't matter what it was, if it related to agriculture, they stressed a certain theory to pursue in agriculture, and that was specialization. And I didn't believe in it myself, and I didn't practice that in my career in farming, but I said, that's why I'm asking you, to my grandchildren. Do you see this happening at a higher level of education now? And they said, yes, some. They have some professors that really are trying to convince them in a way to think about their future and everything, in more than just their career. And that concerns me a great deal, because that's not what I'm helping to send them to school for. And another thing is, this DEI issue. I mean, we all know what has happened here lately. Yeah, in this country, and you know, you see it so many times that good intentions, and the issue needs to be addressed, it needs to be continue to be addressed and so on and so forth, but it's a real issue for a lot of people that people are not getting where they need to be in the world because of their merit as much as this DEI program. And some things that have happened here, we all know what I'm talking about, have just exemplified that in a big way. And you're seeing it in the national politics now and everything else as being an issue. So, this woman, she, in the science end of it is just like, Matt said, it's always changing. You know, a lot of people now, I mean, I'm a total believer in climate change and everything else, but there's still a lot of people that question the science behind it all, because they see a lot of these policies that our politics are forming that are really affecting the general population. And it's all boils down to climate change. And so, you know, that's getting to be more and more of a question, because now it's not just affecting climate change, but it's getting to where it's really going to start affecting people's pocketbook. And so this woman, that she sees these things. I think we're going to hear more and more about this kind of stuff out in the general public, and it's already, some of these things have already, you know, are being talked about in the, you know, the national politics now. And so, I think that she's right on top of things, and I think that this woman really understands what's going on out there and not afraid to talk about it either. I mean, you know, it's a real touchy issue, all of them, I know, but, from my own experiences, when I went to Cobleskill, which is just an offshoot of Cornell, I mean, in my business, the dairy industry, I tell you, so many of my comrades have young men and women that go to Cornell. And a lot of guys my age have a little way of thinking about things than the kids that come home and from Penn State or Cornell or wherever. And it can be a real conflict of interest, let's put it that way, because they're definite, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I experienced it myself. They don't just try to give you more education, they try to really influence your thinking, and more than one way. And in the dairy industry is a perfect example. I mean, look at the dairy industry today. How it's, in my opinion, almost to the point where it's gotten out of hand. So, you know, so that's what I think that she's talking about in a lot of ways, a lot of that stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So that's all I got to say. But I agree with you 100%, Matt. on what you said about the trades and about how science is changing, and that's never gonna change. But
Well, George, thank you for taking the time to bring what you see and what you know and the three guys that you talk to at Christmas time, because I can't talk to all of them. I don't know them and I'm not at your kitchen table. So it's good to know what people are seeing, what Essex County residents are going out into the world and seeing. And really, to the extent that I possibly can, I am going to keep politics and those kinds of things absolutely out of our lives. We are in the business of taking care of each other and taking care of our neighbors. And I do not have the power to change what college professors are telling their students within the individual confines of their classroom or what have you. But I sure do have the power to use my own brain to say, I think these guys really know what they're talking about when it comes to berries and grapes and tomatoes and sheep. That's what I can do. And I think we have to keep focused on what we have control over. But I do really feel like we got to also be aware of what's happening outside of our little world at the Adirondacks.
George, it's nice to hear that somebody agrees with me.
your wife doesn't?
Come on, do I have to really answer that?
We are so lucky to have this board and to have our association. I just can't tell you. I am so grateful to all of you. I really mean that. We do still have good, collegial, cordial, productive, inspiring conversations, and I'm really grateful for that. Thank you all. I wish I could be looking at you, but I keep getting messages that saying my internet's unstable, so I don't want to blow up the whole call.
Well,
Ashley, is it all right if I just dovetail a little on to Elizabeth's report?
yeah, definitely.
Very quick, just to let the board know, yeah, it's been a long time since you've seen, even on Zoom. So that, wanted to really make sure that I was here today. And Elizabeth and I, even still, every other week, I call it catch up with each other. And so you still got the connection there. And we've really been talking about the strategic plan. I will try my very best to be there in person when you're having those discussions about strategic plan. So I wanted to make sure that you realize you may not see me, but Elizabeth and I, and there's times where Lori and I are on emails and such, we've still got that connection. And back to the state funding, that Elizabeth and I are here on your behalf, talking with legislators. Many of the issues you talked about through the program issues, Adirondack Harvest, the aging demographics, agriculture. We spent all day. I happen to be really blessed to be in the group that Elizabeth was in the northeast corner of the state. And every single person we talked to, there was a lot of support for cooperative extension. And it really came into more of how can we really help our communities? And yeah, we need to talk about funding, but it was really about how can we work together as collaboration to help the communities that we serve in. So it's a good day here in Albany. We'll wait and see how that transpires when when the final budget is voted on somewhere around April 1st, but we're hoping for 6.1 million, which is level from last year. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you, Paul. Does anybody have any more thoughts? We're at 10 till 6. I know some people have to go. I think this was a really productive, fantastic meeting. We got to everything, and then we got to discuss a little bit too. So, if there's nothing else, then I think it's time for a motion to adjourn. I'll make that motion. Thanks, Chrissy.
I'll second.
Thanks, Julia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, we're excited to go home. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
What's that?
Is there any sensitive documentation that I'm not allowed to bring or take out?
In March, I'll do
What
one
did they have?
Which one?
Even though I won't be able to.
Right.
We'll make it live for you, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Too much?
Like every day.
Just not that
every
day.
night.